your 5D soul purpose, which is amazing. And if you have any questions, I request that you pop your questions in the chat box. I'll either answer them as I go along, or we can come on to questions at the end. But first of all, I want to say a massive, massive thank you for joining me in this talk today. You're going to learn a huge amount about how you can basically tune into your highest purpose, find your Dharma, and unlock your potential. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the word Dharma, I'm just going to give you a little overview. I think this word is becoming more and more well known. I first discovered about Dharma about 5 years ago when I studied the concept with a gentleman called Chris Atwood. Dharma essentially means the right path of action. And actually, all of us have a right path of action that we can take in our lives to manifest and create the most incredible life. And this is what I refer to when I refer to our 5D soul purpose. So all of us have a soul, all of us have a higher purpose. And actually, when we tune into our 5D soul purpose, we are happier, we are healthier, we live longer, and we have a deep sense of unshakable inner peace. So, there we go. So today you are in the right place if any of these apply to you. If you're ready to take your life to the next level and uncover your purpose and create your ideal life. If you want to unlock your greatest potential and feel powerful doing it. If you want to understand what is happening on the planet right now. Hasn't 2020 been the most wild year? My goodness. Absolutely wild. You know, we have had the bushfires at the beginning of the year. Obviously, we had locusts. I don't know if anyone remembers that in Africa. And then obviously we've had the lockdown and COVID. But I'm going to give you a new frame of reference and a way of looking at what is happening on the planet right now, which is a very comforting viewpoint. And actually, when you understand what is happening on the planet right now, it makes a lot of sense. So stay tuned to that. Also, I'm going to be sharing with you today the work that you need to be doing right now for you to level up. Now, not many people are aware of this. So for all of you here this morning for me, this afternoon for me, this morning for you, you're going to get a real insight into what is happening. So, who am I? Okay, well, my name is Aloise Middleton, and I am an ascension guide. So what does ascension mean, first of all? Well, ascension means that we are ascending, we are raising to higher states of consciousness. So I am an ascension guide. I am somebody who helps you shift your life and take your life to the next level. I'm also a transformational teacher. I'm an accredited coach. And I'm the host of the Dharma Life podcast. I've been podcasting for about the last 3 years, and I have interviewed incredible thought leaders who are changing the world to really show everybody listening how they can do it too. You know, this is not for just me or you know, or not for the people, celebrities. This is for everybody. Everybody has a 5D soul purpose, and everyone has a higher purpose for their life. I'm also the creator of the Dharma Life Academy. This is a conscious community where people come together to essentially build their visions, their 5D visions for their life. And I'm going to come on and tell you a little bit more about that as we go through. So my life has not always looked like this, is what I would like to say. You know, I feel very blessed now that I am doing the work I'm supposed to be doing on the planet. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I've run a transformation center with my husband in England. I run a transformation organization with transformational leaders, which is global. But I promise you, my life has not always looked like this. When I was 21, I had a nervous breakdown, which was pretty horrific. We had a history of depression in the female side of my family. We had chronic depression, we had bipolar, we had suicide. And this ran down the female side of my family. I think a lot of us who are here on the planet now are what I call trauma breakers. You know, we've come here to break the trauma that was in our family lines. And I really had no idea who I was, what I wanted. And I kind of used the drugs and alcohol as a way to almost escape from it. When I was using drugs and alcohol, I felt connected, you know, and I realized now that I was very much living in what I would call my left brain. So I was living in the left brain. I was analytical. You know, all of us have been taught to live in the left brain. We've been taught to be practical and factual and statistical, but we haven't necessarily been taught to tap into our right brain, which is our inner wisdom and our higher connection. And at that point in my life, I was really lost. I didn't have, my father was an atheist. There was no kind of religion in our lives. There was no higher connection. And, you know, I know now that I was covering up the pain that I was feeling inside with the drugs and alcohol. And I'd also had a learnt behavior. I'd also inherited this way of looking at the world, which meant that I was chronically depressed. And at times I was kind of floating up out of my body. I was, you know, I found it very, very difficult to concentrate. I found it very, very difficult to be present, actually. And, you know, from 21 to 28, you know, I thought about taking my own life. On several occasions, just because life felt really quite so bleak. And a spiritual awakening at 28 really helped me and really helped me turn my life around. It was, as often with all of us, sometimes we have quite bad things happen to us, and it can be a catalyst for good. My mother at the time was severely depressed as well, and I had a phone call at work to say she'd gone missing from my father. And when I arrived in my living room, my father was in the living room with a policeman, and the policeman was clutching a suicide note from my mother. And I remember the policeman saying to me, "Has your mother ever tried to commit suicide before?" And I said no. And my dad said yes. And at that point in my life, I discovered that we had this huge line of depression in the family. It hadn't been talked about. It had been kind of kept silent. But I didn't have the chance to sort of go into that. I had to go and look for my mum. And I remember running with my boyfriend at the time and my sister, and we went to the woods at the back of my parents' house. And there's a point at the house in the woods where you turn left or you turn right. And I remember my sister asking me, "Which way do we go?" And a voice in my head basically told me to turn right. And this voice guided me to where my mother had taken an overdose. So the voice helped me find her. Luckily for us, my boyfriend at the time was a paramedic. We got her to hospital. She was okay. But that wake-up call, that voice in my head really, really shook me and woke me up. So what happened next was I went down a rabbit hole with personal development. I studied everything I could possibly get my hands on, spiritual development, personal development, and spent literally 10 years of my life. And it's been an ongoing process. Those of you that are into personal development know that when you start, you don't stop. So through that process, I've completely transformed my life. And I also studied the concept of Dharma. And this is why I'm so passionate about what is happening on the planet right now. So let me give you an overview. So you've got this diagram here. And it says 2020. And obviously you've got this little sad face of this poor little world. At the moment on the planet, only about 13% of the planet are engaged in what they do on a daily basis. So what do I mean by that? So if we're talking about your higher purpose, when you are fulfilled, when you are doing what you love, you are engaged in what you're doing. So at the moment, only 13% of the planet, this is a World Health Organization statistic, are engaged, are enjoying what they're doing. The rest of us are going through the motions, you know, doing these 9-to-5 jobs. We're doing things that don't necessarily fulfill us. And how we know that is how we feel inside. But again, we've been taught to ignore that because we've been taught to stay safe, and we've been taught to take the safe route. Now, unfortunately, what happens on a planet is the planet reflects the consciousness of the individuals that are within it. So let me say that again. The planet reflects, mirrors back the consciousness of the people that are within it. So if you've only got 13% of the planet who are happy, fulfilled, joyful, no wonder our world doesn't work very well. The easiest way I describe this is, imagine if you had a machine, a robot, a child's robot, and only 13% of the parts in the robot worked. That is kind of what we're dealing with on our planet at the moment. Now, I truly believe that this is about, the reason that this is because only a small percentage of us are in alignment with ourselves and with our higher purpose. So my mission on the planet is to help people uncover and discover their purpose, their dharma, and unlock their potential. Because when we do our dharma, when we uncover our purpose, incredible things can happen. You're in what I would call positive alignment, and synchronicities will flow. And actually, what I've seen through my community and through my own work is amazing things happen that you would never even dream possible, because your higher mind can fill in better things than you ever imagined. And I do believe that we are manifesting creating our realities in every single moment. So the good news, even though 2020 is pretty wild, as we know, is that we are actually entering what is called the golden age. And I foresee over the course of the next 5 to 10 years that there is a huge consciousness shift happening on the planet, and more people will step into their higher purpose. And as we do that, obviously how the world looks will shift and will change. So let's talk a little bit more about what's happening right now so you can get an understanding. The description I use is that we are at the moment breaking down to break through. We are going through what I call an ascension process. Now, ascension, as I said before, just means that higher states of consciousness are available to us and higher frequencies are coming onto the planet. Now, what's happening is our systems are breaking down. Now, they have to break down because they are outdated. And we can't go into this golden age for humanity as the way the world is at the moment. So yes, 2020 has been completely wild and crazy, but behind the scenes, I do believe that amazing things are happening and our planet is shifting up and changing. And we're going into what they call the Leo Aquarius age. Now, the Leo Aquarius age is all about personal sovereignty. Now, I always wondered what that word sovereignty means, but essentially it is about people coming in to their own power. If you think about how you feel and how you've been educated, unfortunately, we are educated to play small. We're educated to play safe. We're educated to stay safe. We're educated not to speak up. Now, the astrology of this time is showing us that this is all changing, and we're being called into our higher purpose and our higher power. So it's actually a very exciting time. But as you can imagine, a bit like me when I was living my life for the first sort of 25, 28 years, and then going through the depression was essentially a signpost for me that I was living life the wrong way. And what has to happen is often our old lives have to break down so we can break through. And really what's happening at the moment is this is happening on a global scale. So it's time to understand how powerful you really are. And I'm going to share with you some tips over the course of the next half an hour. So I studied and discovered the concept of Dharma. And of all the personal development and spiritual development that I studied, the concept of Dharma was absolutely transforming. It's a bit like, when you understand these principles, it's a bit like putting a pair of glasses on. You see the world in a completely different way. And that is why I'm so passionate about my Dharma Life Academy, because I wanted to share this with the world. So the Dharma Life Academy is a monthly community where we collectively work on our vision for the planet and our own personal visions together. And applying the principles, some of which I'm going to show you today, is how I went from depressed and lost to creating this leadership organization, having this podcast, and also being financially free. So there's, whoops, the joys of slides. So there are three things, or three secrets, that I'm going to share with you today around uncovering your purpose. And as well as uncovering your purpose, it's about unlocking your greatness. And I would say the first thing that we need to do is master our minds. Now, you're talking to a woman who was severely and chronically depressed for at least 10 years of her life. Now, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I really understand now how I trapped myself with my own beliefs. I believed I wasn't good enough. I wasn't thin enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't good enough. And consequently, all of that added to my depression. And we're going to come on and talk a little bit more about how you can master your mind. I'm also going to talk to you about the shadow effect. So our collective shadow of humanity is coming up right now. Essentially, I'm going to be sharing with you the work you need to be doing right now to make sure that you're in alignment as we ascend. And I'm also going to share with you some of the secrets and the laws of Dharma. Now, Dharma comes from the Vedic texts, and the Vedic texts, the easiest way to describe that is the Indian equivalent of the Bible. And these ancient texts had huge amounts of wisdom in them, and they shared basically the secrets to life. And I'm going to share some of those with you today. So let's talk about mastering your mind. One of the things that we do inside the academy is help people let go of anything that's blocking them. So in my case, I had huge amounts of self-worth, low self-worth issues. I had huge amounts of negative beliefs. I had a lot of trauma that I needed to let go of. Now, everything is energy. And so think about when you say to somebody, oh, you look really down. Okay. When you have trauma, when you have negativity, when you have things that are lower level, they literally weigh you down. So most of us have been taught in our lives not to speak about our problems, just to kind of, if you're English, British, like I am, we were taught, stiff upper lip. Don't speak about what's wrong. A lot of us have been taught that we shouldn't talk about our trauma, any abuse, any alcoholism, anything negative that's happened in our life. We've stashed it away in a box. Now, unfortunately, when we stash it away in a box, it weighs us down. And when you understand that everything is energy, you understand that your frequency matters. So one of the things that we do in the Dharma Life Academy is we take you through a process to help you clear out that trauma. But something I want to share with you now today, for anybody listening, anybody who's looking to take their life to the next level, and potentially, you might suffer with anxiety, you might suffer with bouts of depression. The simplest thing I can recommend for you guys to do is journal. There's a book called The Morning Pages. Let me know in the comments if anybody's heard of it. The Morning Pages essentially is a book for writers, and it was about releasing writer's block. But it's actually a magical exercise, because what the Morning Pages ask you to do is they ask you to write 3 pages. Excellent. A few of you have heard of it. 3 pages of A4 every day. And the idea was that this would unblock the writer. But actually, it's an incredibly wonderful exercise for any human being, because it can unblock any of the stuck trauma that you are carrying in your body. So my recommendation, if anybody's listening to this and they know, maybe they feel like they're on repeat, they keep thinking the same thing, or they might have a relationship that they haven't really got over, or something happened to them and they haven't really got over, please take time just to talk, to journal about it, because what you're doing is you're processing that, and that will help you master your mind. So the other thing is that we help you and support you by changing those limiting beliefs. Most of us have a lot of limiting beliefs. We think we're not good enough. As I said, we're not clever enough. And we have to unlearn this and relearn how powerful we are. And literally, what we believe, we create. So if you believe yourself to be not worthy or not good enough, that will be reflected back to you by the planet, by the universe. So it's very important that we go through a process of really changing our limiting beliefs. But most often, we don't know what they are. So again, just a top tip, when you're doing your journaling, I would really recommend that you write down how you feel about a situation. So I'm going to give you an example. I was single for 8 years, and I had a lot of stuff about what was wrong with me. Why couldn't I meet a partner? Why were all my friends married and I wasn't? Now, if you think of yourself as a radio station, we want to tune you up to your ideal partner station, or we want to tune you up to your vision station. If you've got a lot of negative beliefs, that will be causing distortion to the right frequency. So what I did is I used this exercise, the morning pages, and I journaled for about 4 months every single day. And it started off very negative. What was wrong with me? I don't understand why I've been single for so long. And what you discover over time is you are releasing the things that are weighing you down. You are releasing the negativity, and you can replace it with positive beliefs. So I started then writing what I was looking for in a partner. I started then imagining this partner. I started then writing down my dream partner. And I got to the stage where I've been doing this about 4 or 5 months, and I am very impatient. I'd like to share that with you. And I asked the universe for a sign, and I said, please give me a sign that I'm not going to be single for the rest of my life. And I was in the park with my dog, and I wrote it in my journal. And as my dog and I walked back to the car, I remember looking down on the ground, and I saw this thing that was on the ground, and it was kind of glinting at me. And I picked it up, and I realized it was a costume jewelry engagement ring. How crazy is that? But that shows you how powerful we are. So I ended up wearing this costume jewelry engagement ring. And every time I looked at this engagement ring, I felt really loved. Now, honestly, for us to manifest, for us to pull in what we want, A, we have to believe it, and B, we have to feel it. But every time I looked at this ring, I just felt so loved. And I started wearing this ring around the house like a lunatic. Then I started wearing it to meetings. And I remember going to a meeting and putting it in my bag and coming out of the meeting, going to put my ring on, and I couldn't find it. And I was distraught. And I was like, what are you doing? Because obviously it wasn't real, but I'd almost convinced myself that it was. Anyway, the good news was I met my husband 3 weeks after finding that ring. And our first date was 10 hours. Our second date was 10 hours. And on our third date, we went to Croatia for 10 days. And 3 years later, we got engaged. And the ring that I have here is a spitting image of the ring that I found. So that's just to demonstrate how powerful we are, and how by changing those limiting beliefs, we can unlock our potential. And you can use that exercise in any area of your life. So I want to talk about the shadow effect now, because there is a huge amount of higher frequencies, higher energies coming to Earth right now. Now, I want you to think, the best analogy in the way of describing this is, imagine you had a pipe and there's lots of silt and dirt at the bottom, and then you push in high pressured water. What would happen is the water would push all of the silt and the dirt up. Now, what is happening on our planet is our collective shadow is coming up right now. So all the things that we haven't seen as a humanity, we are being privy to. So this is happening what I would call on a global scale. If you think about what's happening with COVID, you know, there's lots of things that are happening with our government which just don't feel right. Now, anything out of alignment with the truth and with our true selves is coming up to be looked at. So whatever happens on a big scale will happen in your life as well. So for those of you who have just gone through lockdown, it probably will have highlighted something or some area that you needed to look at. Now, within my community, I'll be honest, I've had lots of people who've decided they want to get divorced, people that are leaving jobs. What was tolerable before will not be tolerable now. As this high frequency energy comes onto the planet, it will really highlight anything in our lives that is out of alignment with our, what I would say, true self, with our authentic self. So just a top tip there, you know, I'm sure everybody is now thinking about what has been coming up for them. Personally, a lot of my body stuff was coming up, my body issues was coming up, but I knew what was happening. So I was able to really grab that issue and start to transform it. But I've seen in my community, you know, people have decided that they want to step away from long-term relationships, or they've decided to leave careers after 20 years. And I would say, whatever feels right to you right now, you have to trust your inner wisdom. This is the other thing. As a humanity, we've been taught to look outside of ourselves when we should be looking inside. So this is just a wheel to demonstrate the different areas. It could be your career, it could be your finances, it could be your health and well-being that's out of balance, your romantic relationships, your family and friends, your physical environment, or satisfaction with life. So that's just to give you an idea. And let's come on and talk about the laws of Dharma. So when we think about uncovering our purpose, most people think that they're going to wake up one day and they're going to know why they're on the planet. And then we look around and we see people, you know, probably like myself, and you going, oh, well, they know what they want to do. Why don't I know what I want to do? And I think what I would like to share with you is what the Dharmic texts teach us is that your purpose is not a flash of insight. It is your whole life journey. And your Dharma, your purpose, unveils itself to you when you have the courage to take the action towards your highest excitement. So let me say that again. Most people have this misnomer that they should just know why they're here. And then when we don't have that, we feel disappointed. We feel like there's something wrong with us. Everybody else knows their purpose, apart from me. I want you to think of it like a treasure hunt. I want you to think of it about how you're going to step towards one thing that excites you. And what you'll find is a new door will open. You might meet a new person, or you might have an idea, but you have to take the action. I'll give you an example from my own life. You know, sort of 6-7 years ago, I desperately wanted to do a podcast. I desperately wanted to be out there helping people, but I was so in my head. I was thinking about it, but I wasn't doing it. And consequently, I drove myself insane because I could see other people doing what I wanted to do, and I felt I didn't really know where to start. And a lot of that comes down to support, you know, so I'd really recommend getting support, because it becomes a lot easier for us to take the action when we have support. So this is an incredible little formula. What you've got here, I'll just move this so you can see. This is the secret Dharma life formula. Each of you have unique gifts and talents. You may not be aware of them, because often we're not, but it will be the things that come naturally to you. So think about the things that you take for granted. It's generally what happens. It's the things that people take for granted. Think about the things that you are passionate about. Think about something that you can read and read and read and read about. And also think about social need. So, what I mean by that is, where does society have a need for what you're doing? Now, the intersection of all of those 3 points is your Dharma. And when you do your Dharma, you're happier, you're healthier, you literally live longer. And that is not a joke. And why is that? When we are in alignment with our Dharma, you can see this diagram here, we're also in alignment with our authentic true selves. And consequently, we have more life force energy coming into our system. So yes, you look younger. And if that's not a reason to do your Dharma, I don't know what is. So it's quite exciting. So one of the things we do in the Dharma Life Academy is help people get really clear on what it is, because most of you listening probably might have an inkling about your unique gifts and talents and your passions. But what we do is help bring that all together, and we help really get you clear on the 5D vision for your life, and how then we support you in creating that life. So we all have a gift that we can bring to the world. We just haven't been taught the rules of the game. You can create the life you desire by following your highest excitement and doing your Dharma. So I love this expression, follow your highest excitement. Again, we haven't necessarily been taught to go after the things that really excite us. But the way I look at that is your inner wisdom talking to you. That is your inner sat nav saying, that's you, go that direction, because that excites you. Again, that will put you in a higher frequency. Think about a time when you felt happy and joyful and excited. You are literally raising your vibration. You are in a higher frequency. And that is what is happening on the planet right now. We are having higher frequencies come to Earth. So there's never been a better time to step into your purpose, step into your Dharma. So I just love this quote. It's a Chinese proverb. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So how do you know if you are not living on purpose? Well, there are kind of 7 signs that really demonstrate this. The first one is how you feel inside. Most of us will feel when we're out of alignment with the person that we're supposed to be. You know, think about those jobs that you've stayed in too long, where you've had that niggle and you don't want to get out of bed every day, and everything feels heavy and everything feels difficult. That is a sign. That is a signpost that you need to listen to. Another sign or signpost is it could be a health issue. You know, you may find yourself with a health issue. It could be like me, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be something different. But usually health conditions, are coming from emotional aspects. They're just, again, signposts that we need to look at. And it shows us that we really need to tweak something and change something. And that's something we can help you do. One of the other signs is that stuff keeps going wrong. Like, I remember I was working in a corporate role. I was running a business with a lady. We ran a business of 20 women. She did HR and I did recruitment. And, you know, on paper, I should have been very happy. I was earning good money. I had my own business. It was an all-female business. That had been one of my dreams. But inside, I didn't want to be doing it, but I was ignoring it because I didn't want to let anybody down. I didn't want to let my business partner down. Now, guess what happened? We ended up having a very messy business partnership split. Now, looking back on this, I truly believe that that is because I wasn't listening to my inner wisdom. So there are lots of signs and signals that show us that we're not on purpose. So I just wanted to share this story with you. This is a lady who came to me, actually, and I'll come on to that question, Maureen, but it's a great question. This lady, this might answer the question. So this lady came to me and she had a huge history of abuse in her background, and she won't mind me sharing that because she's very open about it herself. And she came to us, and she was struggling to set up the business that she really wanted to, and again was struggling with depression. And when she came to us, she didn't necessarily have that belief in herself. And through going through our academy, she just tuned into who she really was. And she got to understand her unique blueprint, her energetic blueprint. We showed her that. And, you know, I'm really pleased to say the work we did together, she's now she's very, very good. She's almost like a genius with words. So she helps people in their businesses do the copywriting aspect of their business. And she always thought she was a bit weird with it. And of course, what we taught her was actually that was a gift. And by leaning into that, she's now become very, very well known in the personal development industry in London, and speaks all around the world now on this topic. This was 2 years ago that she came through the academy. But Maureen is just asking, higher frequency is dislodging trauma so I can deal with deeper buried things. Does this mean I'm heading in the right direction? Absolutely. So by you looking at the trauma and processing it, you're dislodging it. And so it will help you raise your frequency. So as much as a lot of us have this stuff, you know, myself included, we do have to go through that process. It's also the first rung on the ladder from a spiritual awakening perspective. You know, the healing aspect, I think, is very, very important. And so, yeah, it sounds like you're doing fantastic things, Maureen. Well done. This lady came to us as well, a beautiful soul. Oh my goodness, so gorgeous. But again, was suffering with anxiety, was suffering with depression, was very, self-conscious of her weight, didn't really want to go out. Again, she won't mind me sharing this because her life is so different now, you know, 2 years on. And again, we helped her unlearn everything she'd learned through her family, through her society, through education, and then relearn how special and beautiful she really is. And this lady she's working in a hotel doing marketing, and actually she's really discovered that her true dharma is to support people to run events. She's an event coordinator, so she now has an event coordinating business, and she works with people like myself, personal development people, because she loves it. That's her passion. So any questions, please pop them in the chat box now, because I'm conscious of time. So just to show you how this works. So most people are living into their default futures. What does that mean? Well, it means that they aren't really designing their life. You wouldn't get in a taxi or a car without knowing where the car is going. Most people do that with their lives. What we do in the Dharma Life Academy is we help you create your 5D life in alignment with your soul. And obviously today I've shared with you a lot of the things that you can do personally to help get yourself on the right path. But if you're interested in taking that journey with us, I'll tell you just a little bit about the Academy. There's never been a better time to build the life that you deserve. Now is our time. As I said, we're really being supported now with this higher energy coming to the planet. It's kind of happening naturally because we're being forced to look at what isn't working. You know, there's lots of people having dark nights of the soul all over the place, left, right, and center. So I'd really encourage you to really grab the bull by the horns and really look at this incredible opportunity. So I do believe there's certain elements that you need for success. For me, I love having a community. I think having a conscious community of people around you is so important. Having accountability. You know, we're all human. We're all human. We all need accountability, and we all need support. So these are the type of things that we give you. And then the other thing that I think is so important is to have a buddy in that process. So Insanity is very much doing the same thing over and over again. So I would love to encourage you to follow your highest excitement. So we're just about to run a follow your highest excitement challenge. 5 more minutes. Yeah, we're just about to run a follow your highest excitement challenge. It's a free challenge. You're welcome to come and join us. Essentially what we do is we take you through 4 days of understanding your current belief system, understanding your current reality, building your 5D vision for your life, and then looking at Dharma. And what I would say is the thing that I love the most about this work is watching and seeing people transform and feeling that level of fulfillment. So what I would say is, so Philip has got a great question. I was living my passion as a hairdresser and makeup artist. I developed neuropathy in my hands. What next? So what I would do, Philip, if you can come and join us, I would take you through a process to look at why the neuropathy developed. What was it trying to show you? It's a sign, it's a signal. So we would go through a process to look at that, why that occurred. And everything happens for a reason, okay? I want you to know that, I really do. As much as it's quite difficult to understand, like when something like that happens, you know, I can appreciate that you obviously loved what you did, but what I would encourage you to do, Philip, is ask what you've learned. Ask yourself what you have learned through the neuropathy in your hands, and that will help you move through that and effectively help you have an insight into what would be next for you. And then Katie is saying, how can I be sure about my perfect target group to work with? Not sorry, Katie, in what respect? So just pop that in the comments for me, and then I will answer that question for you. So our Dharma unfolds. Okay, so if Philip, for example, was doing something he truly loved and now can't do that, we have to look for the higher meaning, the higher purpose in it. So by him asking, what is it I've learned through this situation? And then having some accountability and having a clear vision about what's next, we can help him shift up and shift into the next phase of his life. But often what can happen is we can get stuck in the emotion. So, you know, we can get stuck in, this didn't work for me, and why, you know, we can get almost bitter in a way because it didn't work. So what we have to do as humans is transmute that pain, transmute that trauma, so we can move through it and move through what is into what is next. So that would be my advice there, Philip. And I would just say that you may not be able to spot it right now, but if you can go through this journaling process and really ask yourself what you've learned through having that, it will enable you to maybe see something you haven't seen before. But yes, any other questions, let me know. But I'd just like to say thank you so much for listening. It's been a pleasure to talk to you all. As I said, if you're interested in coming and joining our free challenge, you can join us here, aloise.life/FYHE. How can I find my target group in my business? I can help a lot of people with their health relationships. I think that would be something I'd need a little bit more detail, Katie, but message me afterwards and I'll see what I can do to serve you and help you. But now is an incredible opportunity on the planet to build our 5D lives in alignment with our soul. So I'd like to encourage all of you to really have the courage to stretch your comfort zone, move out your comfort zone, and come and join us in the challenge. And it's been a real pleasure to talk to you today, all of you. Well, me talk, you listen, but I really hope that you guys have got something out of that. Lovely. And by all means, come and find me on Instagram, aloise.life. Send me a message on Instagram if you've got a question. But it's been a real pleasure to talk to you all, and I look forward to seeing you at the challenge.